Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Practical Pet Chat. I see nothing but smiles out there. Yes, all of you in Radio Land, I know you're smiling because it's another episode with Lorin. Lorin, those smiles are white and shiny because February is Pet Dental Health Month. Why is that?
Because the Veterinary Dental Association wanted to call attention to the fact that dentition and healthy dentition in animals is so important and not to be ignored. I think that was in 1993. So, now it's become this big marketing thing. But unlike a lot of marketing type promotions, this one's actually got teeth. Sorry. This one's important, because unfortunately, there's a lot of animals out there who have really bad, bad, bad dentition. And that comes from a number of things. It comes from the food that they
Yep.
eat. It can come from, it just sits on their teeth, their food and everything, and there's no focus on removing that or caring for that. And it's interesting how many people think the numbers of people that would come in the store and it was when the dog's breath was bad.
Yeah.
That's what brought them in. And by then it's like the breath is bad. You've surpassed the time for a vet, so get to the vet ASAP. Well, don't you have anything that, work in the meantime? It's like, yeah, I can suggest some things, but before it gets to that, there are some things that you should be doing.
Yeah. So, and I know you and I have had our own dental adventures throughout the years.
Yes.
Um, and I also think, genetics plays some part in this
Ooh,
as
big
well.
time. Big
Yeah,
time.
because I've had dogs that I've had to do very little, cats very little, and
Hmm.
then I've had others where oh my gosh, I may be able to be a vet tech. Just kidding, vet techs. Um, I have had to do so much. Bella's kind of in between, but I'm also proactive at this point as a pet parent.
Hmm.
Um, and so I will, and I started when she was a puppy so that it became part of our routine. It doesn't throw her. Um, and I know a lot of you are like, hey, that's great, Rob, but I adopted, Fluffy or Fifi, and they were 3 or 4 years old. The point is to start when you first are getting involved with that pet. Maybe not the
Right.
first day, but within that first month or two, to make it not seem so intrusive, so uncomfortable. It's no different. I know some of
Mhm.
you want to send emails to Lauren at the email above our heads about me vacuuming my dog, which I say all the time. She's a husky, folks, um, but she doesn't mind it because I have done it for a very long time. Same thing with the dental, and in fact, it's one of those things that it's almost a little game for us. It's really interesting. And I hesitate to say this because people might mistake it because I know the folks that come to our house mistake it sometimes. Because Belle, when she was a puppy, liked to just hang off of my fingers with her little canines, and I could carry her around like she was holding a stick.
Ah!
Yeah. Um, and I think you remember, I think I was on the phone with you the day that she jumped up and bit into a tree and bit the branch and it got lodged between her teeth.
Yes.
Oh
Yes.
my gosh. Talk about trauma there, by the way. And so this is a great one. I didn't even think we'd go here, but that's why we do these, right? And so the instinct from everybody around when that happened that day was yank it out. And I was like, oh my God, no, we will harm her jaw. That is
Hmm.
lodged in. This is a vet moment. And we immediately got over to the vet. We got it taken care of. It's a great story now. We can smile, we can laugh. It didn't harm her teeth. And, my family says, well, better the tree than your fingers. But she still does that to this day. There are plenty of times where she'll just be hanging out, we'll be hanging out, and she'll just loop her, I'll have my hand just sitting there, rubbing on her belly, and she just will put her teeth there, never bites down, but she'll pull. And I know that's back to the fact that from the start of having her, I wanted her to be comfortable with a veterinarian touching her with a veterinary needing to have a deeper view into her mouth, her ears, etc., and being comfortable with that. So I do brush. I've got a couple of different brushes actually, and I've also got the little finger nubs
Hmm.
because that's how I started. And there are even just little cleaners that I'll use sometime, and it's doing great. All that, and I know a lot of you are out there. Oh, so he probably doesn't have any dental issues with Bella. That's not true. Actually, last year I did take her. Um, I was very concerned about one particular tooth, and I did have her deep cleaned. We thought they were going to have to remove that tooth. Thankfully, they did not. Um, so now I'll probably go, if I keep up the maintenance and don't see any issues. But I love that you started off by saying, unlike many things that are just pure marketing, there is true health ramifications for unhealthy dental outcomes. It's not
Yeah.
just a bad breath. There's a lot of illnesses, but here's one that I think surprises folks. I have heard throughout the years from many different rescue organizations that sadly we believe they gave him up because this dog's breath was horrendous and they just felt like they were going to have to pay a lot to get that taken care of. And it breaks my heart because, oh my God, there were so many different things that they could have done, both, with a little bit of effort and then with other things to keep that going. I use different supplements and things like that for Bella's gums, the most basic one, seaweed. But point being is there's a lot of different things that you can do before it gets so bad. And if it does get bad, I see a lot of dental clinics out there and all that. Now, this is one where I think all the controversy starts to come in, anesthetic versus non-anesthetic, a licensed dental tech as opposed to a clinic being done by someone who only does it a couple times a year. That's a whole deep episode, but I know you and I, we go again being a little bit of helicopter pet parents. We go to yeah, no, we're doing this the right way with the best professional we can find who's in alignment with how we want it to be done.
Hmm.
But that starts first moment for me. How about for you?
Yeah. Well,
You had 12.
I did have 12, and I will tell you those 12 were amazing. To have 12 dogs that were so overall well behaved and easy to deal with and really not an issue at all. And these two dogs that I have now are my customers' happy revenge from all the times I was like, it's not that big deal. Let me show you how to brush their teeth. And, I'd give them a demonstration and show them how to, approach the dog from behind where the dog can't see you coming and, how to hold the dog between your knees. And I made it look so easy. I even did a video in the group. I'm sure it's still in there for people to look at with a client dog, not my dog, even a client's dog.
Wow.
But these two kids, so I mean, you know me, Rob, from the time I got them, it was play with their feet and play with the ears and play with the, face and everything to get them used to everything, being touched and handled because they both have to be groomed. Um, yeah, these dogs are psychotic when it comes to trying to brush their teeth. How two grown adult human beings cannot hold on to a 3-pound dog to get a tiny little itty bitty toothbrush, barely the size of, I can't even think of anything that small. It's a toothpick with little bristles on it, you know, with coconut oil on it.
Yes.
So not
Yes.
bad, right? No
Yeah.
nasty flavors, no chemicals, anything like that. To try to get that in their mouth, we're lucky if we hit a tooth. Never mind getting in there to brush their teeth. Not the front teeth, not the back teeth. I mean, nothing. It's a full-on fight. And when we finally give up, all of us are panting, because we're just like, oh my God, this cannot be this hard. And to no avail. And I'd like to say it was only one little psycho that is, Delaney. But no, it's both. Bellamy was worse. I knew Delaney was going to be a problem. Bellamy is like willing to throw herself down to the ground from the height of my husband, who's trying to hold on to her, than to have any us come near her with any of that. Now, I can play with them, I can put my fingers in their mouths, everything, but we're not doing anything. I have, I think, 15 or 20 different types of brushing apparatus
Yeah.
so that, okay, you don't like that one? How about this one? And nothing, nothing. I've tried putting um, flavoring, peanut butter,
Sure.
cheese, anything, cream cheese, anything to, make it appealing. No, not having it. You would think I'm coming at them with a chainsaw.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's not happening. So enter in rib bones. And I choose rib bones because I have little dogs. And they're non-weight bearing bones. So non-weight bearing bones don't have the tensile strength that weight bearing bones have. And so it's less likely that anybody's going to get broken teeth from chewing on them, and their rib bones are kind of flat on their, sides. So they're easy to hold on to, they're easy to chew on, they last a long time. I keep them in the freezer, and when they're done chewing, I rinse them off, I toss them back into a bag and put them in the freezer. So they last a long time. But yeah, it's outside of that, I've tried different products. My issue with a lot of products is I don't like the ingredients for a lot of them.
Sure. Sure.
So I'm always faced with that. And it's like, I love the idea, I love the concept. And then I look at the packaging and I look at the ingredients and I'm like, mm.
Well, it's interesting. Let's talk about this before we wrap the episode. The biggest myth out there, I know, is one that gets both you and I. And
Ugh.
I love how you explain to folks the physics of why, even if you wanted it to be true, it just cannot be true. So the myth is, why feed kibble? And they say on the bag there that kibble helps keep the teeth clean.
My vet says kibble will keep their teeth clean.
I am
And
surprised that vet is still your vet. Or is that what someone tells you?
no, that's what someone tells me. No, that
Oh,
wouldn't
yeah,
be
yeah,
my
yeah.
vet. Are you
Okay.
kidding me?
Yeah.
No, that's what
Well,
they
they're
say. My
that's because
vet
the vet's
says.
sponsored by that company, but
Yeah.
sure.
And it's like, okay, I no matter how I would explain it to people, scientifically, clinically, anything like that, nothing hit home better than so like you like Doritos? You like Tostitos? You like corn chips? You like crunchy things, potato chips, any of those things? I love them. Love them. Eat them all the time. So, you ever need to brush your teeth after because, everything you've been chomping on is stuck in your teeth because it doesn't keep your teeth clean. It's crunchy, but they don't keep your teeth clean. And nowhere do any of those companies say that because they know that's not the case. Kibble's not going to keep a dog's teeth clean either. And dogs don't really chew. They just break things down into the smallest amount that they can to swallow it. There's no lateral movement in the jaw. I can pitch this 10 different ways to prove that it's not the case. And people go, oh, I didn't know that. Well, I'm going to keep feeding kibble because I really feel like, my vet says that's going to keep their teeth clean. I'm like, okay. Can I
Right.
show you? Can I take you over to the chew section right over here? Show you some
Yeah.
bones that maybe we can supplement with.
Yeah. I think that is probably the last thing I want to hit on before we leave is there are things I love that you brought up the coconut oil. So easy.
Fabulous.
So
Yeah.
easy. And even in your case, you could put that on your finger and, without the brush and just get that in there. Good for the gums, good for the
Hmm.
teeth, really just good overall. And there are things like that.
Antiviral,
Yeah, all the rest of
antibacterial.
them. Yeah.
Hmm.
Same thing. There are, and I, it's interesting too because there are different herbs, there are different supplements, there are different things that you can be, mixing in, even if you're doing kibble, that would help with some of these things. And a lot of time too, the digestion part of it is where they also need that boost.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of different avenues you can go. But if you're uncertain, get out in front of it. Find out what your dog or cats are tougher, in my opinion.
Cats are tough. Yeah.
Yeah, that's I've I've tried my sister's cats, and they're like, "You do want to keep visiting here, right?"
You
Uh,
want those figures you have, right? Because
yeah,
I'm going to fight
exactly.
through them. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I think, overall, one thing I want to make sure we leave everybody with is dental health is more than just a month. That's an ongoing 365 every day of the year um, battle that you've got to be aware of what's going on. And
Right.
that can be an indication too of what's going on in other parts of the body system and
Hmm.
reflected there first that you're going to notice it. So keep an eye on that. Keep doing what you're doing. Maybe elevate it one more step. We'll shoot for that here in 26. But as always, if you've got an idea or you have figured out the perfect way, because Lord knows it is really tough with those 3 pound dogs. I wish that was an option. The 3 pound dog, I feel like I'd do it so much better, but I'm pretty sure I'd be like losing my
Ha!
Lauren, take Bellamy quick.
You know what the problem is they're 3 pounds. So you're afraid to squish them. You're afraid to hold them too hard or too tight because they're 3 pounds. In the meantime, they're whirling dervish Tasmanian devils because they're using those 3 pounds of resistance in every way that they can.
Excuses. That's all I'm hearing here, Lauren.
Ah, whatever, man.
On that note, send us your tips, send us things that you're doing, practicalpetchat@gmail.com. And as always, thanks for spending a few minutes with us here on Practical Pet Chat.
Thanks, guys.
The content of this podcast is for informational purposes only. It is not intended as, nor should it be construed as, professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment for your pets. Always seek the advice of a qualified veterinarian with any questions you may have regarding your pet's health or medical condition. Never disregard professional veterinary advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on this podcast. The hosts and the guests of this podcast are not liable for any actions taken based on the information shared during these episodes. Any reliance on the information provided is solely at your own risk.
Copyright 2026 Practical Pet Chat. All rights reserved. Unauthorized duplication, distribution, or reproduction of any content from this podcast, including but not limited to audio, scripts, and show notes, is prohibited without prior written consent. The opinions and views expressed by the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Practical Pet Chat.